Well, how are you?
Good morning. Nice to see you again, Dan.
Nice to see you as well. Dinner was fun.
Dinner was excellent, and it's my first time after being in this town for 52 years that I've been to that Italian restaurant in Niagara Falls, and it was a wonderful experience.
Fortunas.
Fortunas, they did
Yeah.
a nice job. Um, this is tax week. We got to pay our taxes, and I just wrote a check today for another $1,500 for Albany. And I got thinking about it, and I said to my wife, make sure you send it certified so that some bozo in Albany doesn't lose in the tax department. Where is this money going to? Am I paying my hardworking dollars to give benefits to an illegal alien that's billions of dollars that Kathy Hochul has put in the state budget to take care of them?
You know, isn't it funny that you say this? Because first of all, I hate today. I hate tax day.
Me too.
I just hate it. But the problem is that isn't it wonderful how they all just say the right things during an election year?
Sure.
Everything's right. Electric bills are going to come down. Everything's going to happen now. Car insurance is going to come down. All this wonderful stuff's going to happen. If it could be an election year every year, we might make out as
We might.
citizens.
Being in New York State, I always say if they had a device that could determine how much air you're breathing in this state,
Yes.
they would tax that air. Because they've never met a tax they didn't like or they didn't hike. And then you get to thinking, you think, well, if I lived in Florida or Texas or Wyoming or other states, I wouldn't have to pay this money.
Right.
And it's becoming a pretty substantial check every year that you send to Albany. And they seem to take it for granted that we, the working bees in our community, are just willfully and willingly going to give you that money and say, do what you want with it. And you see the waste, fraud, abuse, and it turns my stomach.
This waste, fraud, and abuse thing, I think it's really important that we talk about this. Now, here's my issue. I don't mind, and I don't think any taxpayer minds giving money.
That's true.
I don't think they mind it.
For a good cause.
But well, even beyond that,
For our quality of life.
that's right. I think that everybody wants to be safe. There's a lot of that. But here's my issue. I think that we should require all of our politicians, all of our departments, all of them, to make sure that they are audited every single year.
I like that.
Now, what ends up happening is now if you go to ask for more money, I don't care what department it is, you have to prove.
You justify it.
That's right. You have to prove that you've been audited, you've looked at this stuff. And I'm going to bring up an example which I find to be fascinating. I keep hearing about the county. Now, they're having issues with the legal department, cars going home, not enough money, that they spent $300,000 over that they shouldn't have paid. And now what I have noticed is that Mark Poloncarz always never takes responsibility for it. It's always the department head's fault. They did it. What are you doing? Why are you not making sure that this stuff is done all the time, at all times, so you can justify it?
Well,
And
the buck-
Hardwick,
the buck stops here.
yeah, in Hardwick, oh, we found all this stuff. Really? What are you doing? How are you looking at this? What are you doing on a day-to-day basis with these department heads? What kind of interaction do you have? I'll tell you, as a CEO of my company, I talk to my managers all the time. Why? Because I want to make sure they're doing their job effectively for the customers out there. What are they doing except smiling and taking pictures? I don't get it. I don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
I don't understand
And
it.
I found it really fascinating that Mark Follenkarz this week stood up and said that the potholes are the worst he's ever seen. Amen. I agree. I've never seen, as long as I lived in Western New York, I've never seen it like this. In fact, I turned to my wife and said, let's not buy a fancy car because the suspension system's only going to get ruined, or we're going to get a flat tire with these craters out there. But what he was criticizing was the city of Buffalo for using cold patch and not having any hot asphalt. And I didn't know this, according to Poloncarz, the city of Buffalo doesn't even own a paver to put the hot asphalt down
This
and
is
camp it in.
And this is exactly why we should all be working together in Western New York, which you are the county of Erie. if somebody else has one, maybe we can help you out. Maybe we could work this out together. That is your job, Mark. That is what you're supposed to be doing. Your job is to try to save us money, not build golf courses like Westwood.
Which
Because
might not come to be, by the way.
why is that?
A lot of reasons. Number one, the lawsuit.
That's right.
Number two, the DEC is ensure that the soil will pass the inspection for people to be on it.
What did we say?
Yeah.
What did we tell them? What was the point of this whole thing?
Hello.
That's right. And you want to know? This is my point. Stop building parks, fix the ones you got, maintain them, work on things like we're talking about. Take that money and figure out how do we work as a group, every Erie County, how do we work as a group and utilize what everybody's got to save money? What a novel idea.
Yeah.
Isn't this incredible?
Well, there was a couple snowstorms where the south towns would get hit and the north towns got a dusting. And I know that we shared some snow plowing equipment. I think that's great. It doesn't bother me as a taxpayer in Amherst that an Amherst plow went down to Lackawanna or Orchard Park to help them out in a crisis. It really doesn't bother me because it's for the good of the community. But when I see the waste and you just shake your head in total disbelief, and the longer I live here, the more suspicious I am of our elected leaders. And I guess it's the old saying, keep doing what you're doing and expect a different result.
That's right. Well, it's insanity, right? That's insanity. But here, I want to tell you something. That's my point. I'm not afraid to say it. If it was yours, it'd be different. If it was coming out of your pocket, it would be different.
Amen.
The problem is that they don't understand that. Think like a business person. Put everything out on the line there, your house, your cars. Go out there and work and make sure that you understand what it's like. Go talk to any business owner in this area right now and ask them what a dollar means to them. Okay, that's the problem. That's the issue that we have here. Everybody, every politician, everybody out there should have to go to business courses or go figure out what it means to spend money that you don't have and taking it from somebody else. Do you know how hard I work every day to make sure that we serve a good product to people that like it? And I have to adjust to that. Those standards should be even more for our elected officials.
And I also noticed today that you did not ask one customer if they're Republican, Democrat.
That's right.
Liberal, or
Well,
conservative.
we talk about that all the time. I'm telling you, Don, look, after going through those elections, I learned one thing. It doesn't really matter. I could care less about the party affiliations. And more and more every day I feel that way. I'm going to tell you why. I'm conservative in my fiscal
Sure.
my
So
fiscal
is Jack
approach.
Kent, by the
That's
way.
I'm conservative in my fiscal approach. I don't think we should spend more than we make. I think that everybody should be accountable for every dollar that they get. And I think that we owe it to ourselves and to the people that we give this money to make sure that they're doing something right. So I believe in that. On the flip side, I don't believe that we should give everything away. I don't believe that we should be extremely left, and I don't think we should be extremely right.
Well, for 52 years in television, I was a registered independent.
Right.
I wasn't a Democrat. I wasn't a Republican. I wasn't a conservative. I wasn't a liberal. And by the way, I vote for the person. I've never voted along party lines my entire life, and I don't believe in it today. However, having said that, the Democratic Party has left every principle that I believe in. They've left me at the curb.
Well, they're not the JFK. They're not the party of JFK or FDR. They're so far from that. They're so far from
Bill
that.
Clinton wouldn't even.
That's right. That's right. And to be honest with you, it's coming. There's a change coming with people. These elected officials today, I love it because we're in a democratic state. And the Democrats have put us in this place. What are they fighting for? The only reason the Democrats are getting elected right now is because they don't like Trump. And they don't want to put a Republican in. That's okay too, because we're living with the decisions that people are making. We need to get people out there to vote. We need to understand what each person is, what each person stands for. And I'll tell you what, we should never know what their party affiliation is till the end.
But on the other hand, we've got to get people to wake up that their vote does make a difference.
Absolutely.
And that this voter apathy is appalling to me. It's about quality of life issues. You can go on and on about any elected leader you want. For example, the city of Buffalo now has over $100 million in debt. Where was the city controller? Barbara Miller Williams, ringing the bell saying, hey, we got a problem here. We didn't hear a word. All these years that Byron Brown was the mayor, everything was peachy creamy, everything was great. And now we have $100 million and that Sean Ryan in office for less than 4 months and all of a sudden is saying taxes are going up 25%.
That's right.
Are you kidding me?
Well, okay, and see, that's my point. That's my point. If we were just to take on face value what's happened in this state, you can't blame anybody but the Democrats. Can't.
That's true.
Can't blame anybody but. But I want to get past the blame game. I really do. This is just simple math. You don't spend what you don't have, and you make the people accountable for the money that they're spending. How difficult is that? Amherst
Common sense, right?
Amherst spent $48 million on LED lights.
Wow.
Okay, they did that.
The one on my street across from my house doesn't even work.
Okay, so we spent $48 million. They made a decision to do that, and our taxes went up 11.4%. We have to live with that decision. That's the point. How do we get people to respond to decisions that policymakers want to make? That's the secret here. We got to figure out what people want and don't want.
Well,
And that's how we have to act.
when that 11.4% was slapped on the taxpayers of Amherst, Mark Poloncarz in November of the year before whispered in my ear in the 16th floor office in the Rat Building that is political suicide. So what is a 25% increase in
That's
the
right.
city of Buffalo?
Well-
Crystal Peoples-Stokes came out and said for the inner city people that she represents, they cannot afford a 25% tax increase. Well, they like to say, well, in a $100,000 house, it's only an additional $35 a year. But if you're a landlord and you own a double and you're renting it out, you're not going to soak up that tax increase. You're going to pass it on to your tenants.
Because they make decisions. They make decisions, Don, that's based on their survival. That's it. Sean Ryan can make these decisions now, just like Sean Lavin and all the new people. They're going to make all these decisions now. You want to know why? Because in 3 years we'll forget about it.
Oh, you're right.
We won't even remember it.
I had to think twice about the 11.4%.
That's right. But that's my point. My point about this whole thing is that we leave ourselves vulnerable, and we leave ourselves in a position where we just don't understand.
How about Brian Puppo? He leaves being the town supervisor who slapped us with the 11.4% tax increase, and now he's becoming a lobbyist for one of the most impressive lobbyist firm in the state, at least in Western New York, run by Tony Masiello. And it's ironic that lobbying firm had a $75,000 contract with the town of Amherst when Puppo was a supervisor. You see how they're all inbred?
Yeah, it's all incestuous. And to be honest, and look, I've decided I'm not here to point fingers at anybody. All I want people to do in elected positions, just like I do, business people, whatever, I want them responsible for the decisions that they make. Now, let's take Westwood. Let's just take that for instance. You make a decision that you're going to take $9 million and you're going to go open up a golf course without checking to see whether anybody wants to buy that golf course. Okay. Why? What was the purpose of that?
I don't know.
That we needed another park. In my opinion, we don't need another park. We should go and see first if they want to do it. Amherst should look and see whether they want to do it themselves. There's a lot of different things we could check out because we have the responsibility, Don. We, the elected officials, have the responsibility to show that they've looked at every avenue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you could say, when somebody like me, who's inquisitive, and says, hey, did you go out for RFP on that? I sure did. Nobody wanted it. Okay, check it off. We're done. My point I'm making here is very simple. We held a much higher standard for ourselves. Like every day I wake up, I hold a standard that I want the best food to be done. When you were a broadcaster, you want the best news. You did all that, right? Why don't our elected officials do the exact same thing?
Because no one holds their feet to the fire.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? Why do we do this? Why do we get ourselves in a situation where we don't expect them to do something for us? And then only 30% of the people go out and vote? Ludicrous. And I'll tell you, not for anything else, this conversation that we're having, I just want people to go out and vote. I want people to go out and talk. I want people to question what's going on. Now, I heard that we have a new no clapping ordinance at Amherst. I cannot believe that I cannot believe that literally was done. I hear that we're talking about term limits. They want to have a commission now reevaluate term limits. Interesting. I'm curious as to what that actually means because the people that this would affect are ones that are terming out next year. So I'm curious about that. Thirdly, don't you think that that's a big enough decision that a referendum should have to go out
Absolutely.
for people to have to make that decision?
Anytime you hear that a commission is being
Yes.
again,
Yes.
that is to deflect the
Yes.
issue. The decision has already been made.
Right.
Somehow,
Right.
some way, they're going to get rid of term limits.
Right.
But what they're going to do is justify it by saying, "Well, we established a commission,
Right.
and the commission." Church, we don't need it. It doesn't. It's not for the good of the community.
And that's exactly right. So the point that you and I are talking about is, once again, these are people making decisions, major decisions, like the Westwood and these things, without us making that final decision. Put it on the referendum. You win. Hey, this is easy. You don't win. Push it aside. We don't need to do that.
Also interesting to see this California congressman not only dropping his bid for governor of the state of California, he just resigned his
Gonzalez too, right? Didn't another guy too? The Republican too.
He did too?
He did too.
Okay.
He did
My
too.
point is this: if you live in a glass house, don't throw stones. He and Adam Schiff are out down there on Capitol Hill every day, just criticizing Donald Trump for anything he did. They're talking about impeaching him already for war crimes,
Right.
which he hasn't committed a war crime. But you don't see any U.S. politician on the other side of the aisle congratulating this president for taking the threat of a nuclear weapon off the table. And to me, I salute Donald Trump for that. There's a lot of things he's done I don't agree with, but that's not important. That is a move to make the world a safer place.
And I also think that because there is such a distaste for President Trump, that people just don't like him, that it doesn't matter what he does, that you're right, that there's this belief that there's nothing he can do right. So, in my opinion, of what's happening out there is we have other countries in the UAE and all those people who really want us to finish it, according to what they're saying. Also, when you think about how they're approaching this and what's going on over there, we need to understand that we have been going through this for 47 years.
Yep, I remember that since 79.
Me too. Terry Anderson, remember?
Yeah, I do. And the hostages
That's-
from the
that's-
Iranian
that's right.
U.S. Embassy in Iran.
No, Terry Anderson, right?
Well, he was in Lebanon, but
No, wasn't he one of the 400 that was?
No.
Okay. All right.
it was the U.S. Embassy.
U.S. Embassy. Okay. Right.
But
Thank you.
because I had to order a carnation with Irv, Rick, and Tom for every night. I think it'd be 2 weeks and they'd be released. And
Right.
it wasn't until Ronald Reagan was elected and the
Right.
day he was being
That's right. I remember that.
But Dan, I didn't realize how many Arab nations did not care for Iran. You can see it now,
Right.
with the Iranians throwing missiles into other Arab nations.
Well, and I think also we'll see where this ends up because I think it'll be over shortly. I don't know that for a fact, but think
I
about
pray that it's over.
that's right. But think about that. I just want peace over there. I want the Palestinians to be treated well. I want the Israelis to be treated well. I want everybody to get along over there. And if by chance Syria under Assad, that new leader he's really starting to bring Syria back. He's really starting to work with people. It's nice to see that.
It is.
I hope the same thing happens with Iran. I hope that Saudi Arabia gets their act together. I hope that it all brings this change of, prosperous and making this thing happen. My entire life, 62 years, we have been at war with somebody.
Yeah. My junior year in high school, my English teacher was from Iran. And she would tell us about Persia and how beautiful
Yes.
the country is. And then I met a person from Lebanon who was telling me that you can go skiing in the mountains in Lebanon, snow skiing, and then you can go down into the ocean and be at the beach because of the different climates they have. I never knew that about Lebanon. My point is, if it's such a beautiful nation, bring out the beauty of the people.
That's right. That's
And,
right.
get rid of these fundamentalists who don't see the world the way you and I see it. Not that the way we see the world is the right way, but we think it is based on our surroundings, our environment, what we've learned. But to decapitate people in public, in the public square, now here in Erie County, the sheriff, back in 1899, they would have public hangings in Niagara Square.
Oh my God.
I know, you never think about it because we never saw it in our day.
Right.
But then again, there was a time when they said, no, we're not going to do hangings in public, and now we don't hang people. But God, we can be a brutal.
And I actually think you made a really good point, and I think that goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, Don. I want the people to talk. I want the people to get out there. I want the people to become part of these decisions, because right now, I don't think that we have continuity of understanding in what people actually want. I think we have a group of individuals who are running, and this is both Republican and Democrats, that think of themselves first and think about us last. And there has to be some way where we can bridge that gap, make this a society that thinks about the people, the beauty of the people coming out first. Everything that we do. It strikes me as odd that our newscasts at night are 70 or 80% bad stuff. 20% is the good stuff.
Which they call the fluff.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
expression was, if it bleed, it leads.
Yeah. Well, but see, to me, that's kind of the odd. Like, why do you think our children are depressed? Why do you think that we go through? Why do you think there's more therapy that needs? It's because we're not talking about the goodness of stuff. I don't know if have you heard of the app Halo?
I have not.
Okay. Mark Wahlberg and a group of individuals have this app. It's called Halo. And it's about it's
Is it like a HALO?
yeah, with a halo,
okay.
right? Anyways, it's a wonderful app. It's a praying app. Okay. The most wonderful thing about it is it's all about the fact that what we go through as society and what we mean to one another. We pray for it. We ask for God's intervention. We would do all that stuff. And we have become so afraid of just giving up the fact that, hey, look, we're supposed to be helping one another. We're supposed to be assisting one another. When did we become so polarized in our approach that we have left what is good and wholesome in our society behind? I think I would love to think that I'm a bipartisan person because I own a business and I have to be. But every person can't be all bad. Like, everything that Donald Trump has done is bad. Everything that Kathy Hochul has done is bad. Everything that, this person did is bad. Well, look at, they have to answer for their records, and they have to be able to explain it. We as people should be the ones that are differentiating between whether we believe this person or not.
Well, that brings up a good point. Here we are, the state budget was due on April 1st and still not here, and they keep doing these extensions. We send you to Albany to do a job. Why can't you have the budget adopted on April 1st like it's supposed to be? Why do we have all these extensions? What are you doing during the course of a year that you can say, in the next budget, we're going to do this?
Well, and I also think, to that point, you're right. Here's the problem with it. All the last minute deals happen now. Or they try to get all this stuff passed. They want to slide it through. That's right. They want to slide it through. But you don't think people are stupid. This is why we have people who don't believe in the system. This is why we have people who don't vote. This is why we have people who don't care. This is why we have people who just think my vote doesn't matter. And then you got people out there like the ACC and people like you and I will talk about this, or I'll run for elected official. I'll run for an elected office because I think I might be able to bring a different perspective. We have to have more people engaged in the operations of what affect us. We have to be able to listen to what's going on there. When did our politicians get so bold, like Stalwell, who actually went out there, who was bitter against Donald Trump? Everything that guy did was bad. Everything. Look at what he's being accused of. If it comes to pass, if it comes that is correct, this man could go to jail.
Yeah, he should be in prison.
That's right. But that's my point. He had airtime. And everybody that gave him the benefit of the doubt should come up and say, we were wrong. He wasn't a good guy.
And they, apparently what I'm hearing, they knew about it
Yes.
all along,
Yes.
about even when he was on the city
But
council.
but that tells you, but here's another thing. A good friend of mine told me something, and it makes sense. He said to me that we have to be careful because the news that you and I get every day is what they want to give to you. We have to get to a place where we're researching, we're listening, we're looking deeper into what was just being told to us and look deeper into different places where you can get news. Because I will tell you, we know that the mainstream media tells you what you want to hear.
Well, I could debate that, but my point is, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
If I was active in the news business today, and I had a conversation just yesterday with Jackie Walker, I said, Jackie, if you and I were working today, the first thing we would do is go down to City Hall in Buffalo and ask Sean Ryan, with a population of less than $250,000, why do you need 4 deputy mayors, each making 6 figures, in a community that keeps losing its population base? Then I would go over to the city controller's office and ask Barbara, when did you realize that the city of Buffalo was $100 million in debt?
Okay, but why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you do that today? What has happened to our news organizations today that you can't do that?
They've been cut to the bone.
But beyond that, why do you think?
Why do you think?
My personal opinion is that we are only sensationalists now. We don't care. We don't care about the nitty gritty of things. It's just since whatever happens at that moment, if we can talk about Donald Trump because he did something like going to Iran or he said something about the Pope or just that's more sensationalizing. When we trying to find out answers, we don't have the people who have the ability to go in there and make that newsworthy because they don't want to put it on there.
Well, with him and the Pope having this,
I think it was awful. It was wrong of him. Yes.
I think it was also wrong of the Pope, and I'll tell you why. And I love the Pope, but I don't think he's infallible. If Iran developed that nuclear weapon and used it on the European nations or even on the United States and tried to eradicate everyone who was non-Islamic fundamentalists, the infidels, as they call us, would the Pope be calling for peace?
Okay, I want to push back on this. And the reason why I want to push back on this is this, quite honestly. I think that those two men could have a difference of opinion. It's Donald Trump's inability to have respect for anybody.
Well, he can't keep his mouth shut.
Well, but like this, you didn't have to be nasty. You didn't have to say that.
Well, he didn't have to come out with that.
That's right. That truth. That's right.
Profanity.
That's right. But he didn't have to do that. That's the problem. That's where it starts from. People in leadership positions should be respectful of another person, their opinion, and if they disagree, they disagree, and be able to shake hands. I'll never forget. When I was a director of environmental inspections for the city of Niagara Falls, I was for privatizing the garbage pickup. Okay? And it got heated. It got very heated. And I remember Tony Caranto was the legislature up there. He was a councilman. Great man, good guy. And we vehemently disagree with one another. In public, in front of the audiences, we just disagreed. When we walked out of that council meeting, came up to me and shook my hand. He goes, "You're still my friend. We just have a different opinion." And I respected him more than you know.
You don't see that today.
No, you don't see that. Okay? Donald Trump should not disrespect the Pope, and the Pope shouldn't disrespect Donald Trump.
I agree.
Okay? And if something like you said happened with Iran, obviously we could look back and say we should have done something sooner than that. We can debate philosophically whether what going into Iran was right, wrong, or indifferent. When you have a lack of respect for the people that you are speaking to, how can you get anything done? How do you bridge a gap between the Pope and Donald Trump after Donald Trump comes out and attacks the guy, right? Attacks him, having no respect for who he is. This is a man who's in charge of 1.5 billion people, okay? That alone should give you enough pause to say, I'm going to call you on the phone and say, hey, Leo, let's have a conversation about this. You didn't do that. You're out in the public blasting this guy For what purpose? What did it get you? But to get people all riled up.
And it was Donald Trump can't help himself.
That's
If
right.
you take a shot at him, he's gonna shoot right back.
But you
at
want to know something? I'm going to tell you something about that attitude too. I understand being a fighter. I get it. I do. I understand competition. I get it. But you want to know something? You're the president of the United States.
Act like it.
That's right. You are what people look up to. Who looks up to this president right now? Right? Who looks up and says to him, hey, I want to be like him? Who does that? He has some great ideas. He really does. The problem is his implementation is like, I don't know where it comes from.
Well, you notice all his department heads, commissioners, directors, they start every conversation, Dan, by saying, if it wasn't for Donald Trump's
That's right.
leadership,
That's
I'm
right.
so sick and tired. The FCC chairman
That's
was
right.
on TV today on
That's
Fox
right.
Business and every other word. Well, thanks to Donald Trump.
That's right.
For helping the public get as much information as possible.
And that's their cross to bear. They have to, each one of them have to look at themselves and they have to figure out whether they believe in what's happening or how they're saying it. My point to you, Don, is look I don't believe he's done everything wrong. And I don't think he's done everything right. Okay. I think there's some issues with him. But I think there's issues with a lot of our politicians. I think that Kathy Hochul hasn't made some right decisions. I don't think that some people have done the right things. But you know something? I respect Kathy Hochul for being our governor. I respect our president for being the president. I respect I respect Sean Lavin. I respect Mark Poloncarz. I respect all of them because they have aspired and they're there. I just want them to do a job, and I want them to be respectful of who we are and our opinion and be able to answer for the decisions that they've made.
Be interesting to see if Kathy Hochul carries her hometown of Hamburg.
Yeah, my understanding that polling is tough for her right now, but again, we're going to see what this brings.
But she's going to do very well in New York City metro area because she's given them billions of dollars.
Right.
I think they're waking up to what they elected in this new mayor, and people are saying, even Robert De Niro, saying this isn't the guy I voted for.
That's
he
right.
Never said, and he wanted to have a meeting about how he's spending De Niro's money, and and the mayor said, no, we're not going to talk.
That's right. So my point is, everybody has to answer for their decisions. Everybody, and that's the point.
See you next week.
Yes, that's right.
Did we solve any of the world problems?
No. But you want to know something? At least we're talking about it.
We are.
At least we're having a conversation. Don, look, I don't begrudge anybody. I don't begrudge our politicians. Look where they've come. Donald Trump, look what he did. Look where he came to. He's come back again. I just want him to be respectful of the people he's talking to. I want him to explain himself when people ask. And I want him to be somebody who we could look up to. That's what I want most of all.
Me too.
All of our politicians.
And I don't want to see commercial driver's licenses going to
Nope.
illegal immigrants
Nope.
that don't speak English.
Nope.
Those are moving death vehicles.
That's
on
right.
the road.
Well, and if we have to go, if we should be proud to be citizens of the United
And I
States.
am.
That's right.
But, giving an illegal immigrant a license is one step closer to allowing them to register to vote.
I just don't understand that
And
concept.
I don't know why anyone has a problem showing ID to go to vote. I have to
I
show
agree.
ID to buy a six-pack to watch the Bills game.
I agree. But we got to cut it short today.
All right.
Thanks, Don. I'll
My
see you
pleasure.
next Tuesday.
I appreciate it.
Okay, bud. I'll get this down eventually.